I have done it. I have developed the ultimate method for accurate gesture and anatomy at the same time, and also splitting human bodies on a canvas. Well, hello there, I'm Détroit. Much like any other week on this program, today I'm trying something new. Anatomy is hard, any artist can tell you that. And you can find a lot of tutorials and methods online and in books to have good anatomy, but I have two problems with it. Quick pause, do consider subscribing, why not? The first problem I have with tutorials online is that I can't follow them. I don't know why, maybe I'm not putting enough work into it, but I never seem to quite match the proportions. But that's a me problem. The second one is something I can see in a lot of other amateur artists as well. When focusing on proportions, the drawing tends to become a bit too stiff and lose life, or liveliness. I'm not sure of the proper word, but it becomes flat because the gesture is lost. That happens most when the anatomy and proportions tutorial is based on a skeleton or placement of the joints. You tend to link the joints without thinking of the overall gesture and movement of the drawing, which quite often is what gives charm to it, not proportions. This is the idea behind today's drawing. I'm trying to draw bodies that are good enough in terms of proportions, but still fluid enough to show gesture and movement and dynamics. Only, there is a catch. There always is in my digital art. Drawing bodies for the sake of it is boring. Also, I'm very lazy. The construction lines I drew in my first sketch in order to make my own proportions, I've divided the bodies in interesting ways. So because I am too lazy to draw two figures, what if I draw two half figures? Two halves of the same person but in slightly different postures for variety. One half gets the convex parts like the torso, the belly, thighs, arms, etc. The other half, naturally, will get the concave parts, the joints, the neck, but also the hips and shoulders. I think it's a very neat way to divide the human body into parts. What I'm making is basically my own tutorial for anatomy and gesture, only drawing with curves and no straight line. For example, to make the torso and the core, you can draw a curve from the top of the shoulders, cross at the center, and continuing the hips and the outside of the thighs. From the same point on the shoulders, you can curve along the ribcage down to the pelvis. Depending on the angle you choose to represent, it can be an S-curve or C-curve, but I figured you can get your proportions easily by locating where the crossing point of these lines should be. A simple curve down the center of the neck to the pelvis, and a C-curve from shoulder to shoulder, and that's basically it. You have your figure. I'm not sure how it fits when the body bends at the belly, but I'm sure I can figure it out later. I just need to try it and see how it goes. I haven't done that yet. The key of what I'm trying to do is to draw the body with as little curves as possible. You can make a brush stroke from the shoulder to the opposite hip and then to the back of the leg, and it will look elegant. I think it's also pretty neat to visualize the body in 3D space, which is what I'm doing now. After cutting the two bodies in their respective half, I'm coloring in the body parts. What I want to do is choose crazy colors and render them very simply. I figured it would be too weird to choose skin tones, so blue and green will be it. I'm defining a light source on the side and front of the canvas, which I'll show by shading the body parts. At first, there was supposed to be empty space between the parts, so shading takes that into account. For example, the breast part will cast shadow onto the shoulder, or something like that. Because this started out as a sketch, I want to keep that messy element into the picture, which is why I'm redoing the construction lines, but in a cleaner style. It's like inking, only it's still a sketch. A refined sketch, you might say. And because the body parts are already blue and green, I figured I couldn't go wrong with orange. And it's gonna be even crazier later on, but don't worry about that yet. Keep watching. There's something I feel like I should address, and that's the lack of features. The heads are basically triangular cylinders. Which are a thing, by the way. Cylinders doesn't mean expanded circles. Here, the base is triangular. But yeah, the heads are very simple, with just the position of the eyes, or lack thereof. The hands are a messy blob, and I didn't bother drawing the ankles and below. Again, I'm lazy, you'll have to forgive me for that. Feet and hands are not fun to draw, and because this was a gesture drawing, I didn't go into too much detail. The body parts also don't complete each other perfectly on the two drawings. Like the back of the arm is missing and all. I guess maybe the twins are actually triplets? The third one was left with only so many body parts that they weren't worth drawing. Sorry for them. Just one thing though, don't you think the pose and the band instead of the eyes make them look like superheroes in a way? I think it looks cool. Anyway, after all of that, the process of drawing becomes even more wacky. I wanted to try adding substance to the void between the body parts for fun. I tried another shade of orange, but when I was adjusting the brush presets, I clicked something on accident and it suddenly became even more fun. I didn't even know there was a feature like that. Suddenly, the pressure of the stylus became correlated with the color of the stroke. Pressing lightly drew in my main color, and as I pressed harder, it slowly gradiented into my secondary color, so from orange to red. Since I'm lazy, again, you should understand it by now, it's the third time I've said that. Since I'm lazy, I saw it as a good opportunity to shade the empty bodies quickly. The orange bodies are on a layer behind the other body parts, which doesn't make sense with how I rendered the blue and green parts, so I tweaked the orange layer to make it more faded. Again, with the idea of a colored void. Like, it's not there, the space is empty, but there is still color and semblance of shading. I am also playing a bit with all the color curves and tweaks and with the background too, but I'm not certain I'll keep it. Or maybe I'll show you both, the one with the background and the one without. I'm showing both. Here you go. I hope you enjoyed this drawing process. Feel free to try my new method of drawing anatomy and proportions while keeping the gesture free and loose. Like the video, and of course, the comment section is open for you to tell me what you think of this approach and this crazy drawing that was nonsense on top of nonsense all the way through. Subscribe to my channel, which is the Detroit Variety channel. You know, because I'm Detroit. That's me. Bye!